What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit YouTube channel. My name is Miko, joined once again by my guy Morgan Cannon, and this is your go-to place for all things Lions related. That includes news, updates, analysis, and so much more. And in today's video, we are going to be recapping a little bit of the free agency news that happened last week, as well as talking about what the Lions still have left to do. And Morgan, there's been a lot of discussion if the Lions are doing enough, specifically when it comes down to one position group. So we're definitely going to have a conversation about that and kind of give our opinions on why we think the Lions are approaching things this way and how we think they're going to, actually rectify. I don't even want to say a situation, but how they're going to continue to build out this roster going forward. So, first of all, good to see you, my man. Hope you had a good weekend. Mine was busy as all hell.
But you had stuff with the girls?
Oh man, the girls started their dance comp season, so we were up at Kobo, which was nice because I haven't been to Kobo in a minute, and I didn't even realize that they renamed it to Huntington Place.
It's
But no,
always changing.
it was right. That's what my wife was saying. So yeah, girls killed it at their dance competition. It's always cool seeing them do what they love. Also found a really dope place to eat, a Nuevo Soul.
Yeah.
That is christened by me. Like that place gets the thumbs up for sure.
It's like Korean and Mexican fusion, I want to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, we've eaten there a couple times and love it. But yeah, if you're in the Detroit area, definitely Nuevo Soul downtown. Can't go wrong.
Bro, perfect. It's like kind of like tucked away too. It's almost like a hidden gem. Like if you find it, oh, you will not regret it. And it's like really well priced too. So definitely recommend it as a go-to place downtown to date night type of situation.
Yeah, for sure. Hungry now.
But with that said, Morgan, let's jump into some of the recap of free agency. Like I said, the Lions were busy-ish, right? A lot of it is again the Lions being true to themselves and what they have always been preaching ever since Brad Holmes and Dan kind of came here, which is that they're going to prioritize their own guys first, and then they're going to go out and obviously go out and do some fishing and try to get some new talent into this building. But still a good first week of free agency. When you talk about returning players, the Lions went out and re-signed a number of their linebackers: Derek Barnes, Anthony Pittman, Ezekiel Turner. Went out and got two of their edges, Marcus Davenport, and then it was announced today that they also re-signed Mitchell Agude, who is more of a practice squad player, but again, someone that obviously saw some time on the field just due to some of the injuries that the Lions saw. You have Levi Onwuzurike back on the defensive line. Lions went out and re-signed Maurice Norris, Dan Skipper, Netane Moody, and then they also brought back two other fan favorites, running back Craig Reynolds as well as wide receiver Tim Patrick. So in terms of bringing back returning players, I think the Lions did a good job. I think these are all players that I think we could all feel fairly good about in terms of whether or not, if you're talking about somebody like Tim Patrick or Levi Onwuzurike, guys, and Derek Barnes, guys who are going to contribute heavily when they're on the field. But then they also went out and got some key depth as well in bringing some of those players back too. You're muted.
Trying not to drink with on the volume when I can. Right. Yeah, bro. Like in 2024, we saw like depth is everything. Like, obviously the Lions have a lot of top end talent. They, 6 all pros in 2024, really impressive stuff, but they just got so depleted on the defensive side of the ball. I think Brad Holmes has, approached this offseason, I think a lot really close to what a lot of us expected. You know what I mean? Like we didn't think he was going to, although I didn't expect it. I thought the DJ Reed, we'll get into that in a little bit, but the DJ Reed signing was a splash in my opinion. Like for him, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that was a big signing. Well, threw some money around.
I would say even on the returning side, like Derek Barnes and Marcus Davenport both coming back was a bit of a shock to me. Again, not based off of like talent per se, but just order of priority. So that was kind of one of those things that was a little weird. But yeah, you talk about some of the new additions. I think DJ Reed is absolutely a splash. Again, someone that was considered a top corner in this free agency class. Some even had him as the top corner. It started fluctuating a little bit once it became kind of clear that Carlton probably wouldn't be coming back to Detroit. But DJ Reed being the top corner, they go out and get him. And then they went out and got some, again, more depth, in various areas that they needed. They go out and get Roy Lopez on a 1-year, $4.65 million deal. They go out and get Grant Stewart, a dude that I had to do some research on because, man, lighting is everything. Lighting is everything. That's all I'll say. but a key guy that's probably going to contribute heavily on special teams, and we know how big of a priority that is for Dan when it comes down to all three phases of the football. The Lions also go out and get another quarterback to bring in as far as possibly QB3 or at least just QB competition for camp in Kyle Allen. And then they go out and get another tight end in Kenny Yeboah on another 1 year deal. So nothing that's overly splashy. And I think that's been some of the frustration that's kind of built up with certain fans here and there, but enough of like quality moves to at least, fill out the roster in areas like you said where depth was an issue last year.
Yeah, and I know we're so far removed from like how good the defense looked basically up until the wheels fell
Mm-hmm.
off against Buffalo, right? That's when the wheels all the way fell off, in my opinion. We've talked about that a gazillion times. We will until probably July, August, you know what I'm saying? But like up until that point, man, the defense was really good. So to your point, Miko, I'm so happy getting Levi back on the little prove it deal that they got. That goes a long way. There's a lot of things like bringing Derek Barnes back. He's going to be ready to go. Davenport, man, if he can stay healthy, like he's had a run of bad luck. It's not like he's not trying to play through things. He's like breaking things, stuff like
It's
that.
season ending stuff. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's so weird.
I know, man. So like, I hopefully maybe the football gods will bless him one good time and like let him play a full season, because that then people are going to be real happy about that contract. I know the joke is, well, everyone's signing Marcus Davenport. Listen, man, if he can get a full season going, because he was nice with New Orleans back in the
Yes.
day before some of this stuff started, like he was trending towards being a dude at the position. I know we're a little bit removed from that now, but I say all that because Brad has done this. He's approached the cap like from an economical standpoint. I know it's not what people want to hear. We're going to get into some of the why we're happy that he didn't do. If you look
Mm-hmm.
at these teams, man, that's like go look at what the Eagles did. The Eagles had a big old exodus, man. They lost a lot of people. Like they've signed some players. They it just broke before we got on here that they signed Aziz Ojulari. I don't know the details of the contract yet, but that'll help them a little bit. But they've had a lot of players walk. But when you're that talented and you have a lot of highly paid players, you've got to build. The way to do it is through the draft. You can't, make these moves that some of these teams that have $90 million in cap room, they have that cap room for a reason. You know what I mean? Like the Raiders had like $91 million in cap room, right, Miko? It's because they don't
Yeah.
have any good players outside of Max Crosby. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but that's why. They don't have Penei Sewell, St. Brown, blah, 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 blah.
I was gonna say, you talk about the Raiders, you talk about the Bears, like teams that you want to sit here and say, like, man, they went out here and spent money. Great. Where were they in the postseason? Where were they in the regular season in terms of just being in contention? And so I agree with you. I think a lot of that kind of gets lost. And like you said, we'll jump into it a little bit later with our kind of like last talking point here. But one of the other things that I want to talk about, so we went through, the re-signings that the Lions have made or new additions that the Lions have brought in. What do you think when you look at this roster still needs to be addressed in terms of free agency? Because that's like as much as people are overreacting, that was just the first week. Like there's still plenty of time between now and the draft for the Lions to sign new players onto this team.
No doubt, bro. And I really do. I think this is going to be the approach moving forward. We kind of need to recalibrate as a fan base. Like, you remember how lit we were that day when Bob Quinn signed Trey Flowers and Justin Coleman and Jesse
Yep.
James? Like, we were like, whoo, we were lit, man. That was a fun day back when we didn't know any better. And that's
Thought we were going to win some games, didn't
we? That set the Lions back, man. That was part of the reason they were in such cap. You know what? In
we? Mm-hmm.
2021, they were had almost $90 million in dead money in 2021 because they had to shed all those contracts and they just ate it. But right now, the roster is so built out. There's not really that many positions open, let alone starting positions open, right, Miko? Yes,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we got edge, starter, depth. You need both. Interior offensive linemen. I would like to add a veteran guard that can start. We have some good depth there, in my opinion. They brought back Moody. I really he was trending, towards having a pretty good season, I thought, in camp before he got hurt. And then back, third safety, and then another receiver. So what's your top, Miko? Out of those four, would you agree those are the four?
Yeah, those would be the four. I mean, I think you could probably throw a corner in the mix as well, just because you need
Another
some depth
body.
there.
Facts.
Right. You just need some more bodies to be there for your secondary, which again you can get via the draft or free agency. But yeah. For me, it is edge, and it's right in line with a lot of what a lot of people are talking about. But I understand why the Lions haven't done it. But for me personally, it is to get another veteran edge, and it doesn't necessarily have to be someone on a multi-year deal. Like if you could get a Matt Judon, a Von Miller, on a 1 year nice veteran deal where it's like, hey, we're gonna have you come in, you'll be the starter opposite Hutch, but like, yeah, like, it gives you an opportunity to contend for a Super Bowl because at least the Lions are firmly cemented in that category now. They are Super Bowl contenders. So anyone that you're looking to go sign that's a more established edge rusher, they know what they're coming into. They know what type of skill set they need to bring, and so that's where I would at least land when it comes down to edge. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't be mad if they approached it that way. If they, allocated more of their what they have probably sitting around as spending money towards edge. I'm going to go
Mm-hmm.
interior offensive line just because I want to keep, like, my opinion, as someone who watches all the film, and I know Miko does too, and I'm sure some of y'all do, watching this and everything, but reading Pride of Detroit. The Lions, part of what happened at the end of last season, on top of the defense just being down to their second man, was
Mm-hmm.
the offensive line kind of wasn't the strength it was at one point. There was, I don't know who was playing hurt. There was some just bad reps, like the
Yeah.
first turnover against the Commanders. It was Graham Glasgow got beat real bad, and it was on a 3-step drop, and the ball was out, and boom, it was a swing from potentially being 14-0 to the wheels starting to just completely
Yeah.
fall off and the air being sucked out of Ford Field. So I want to get, if they're going to throw a little money around, like a Brandon Scherf for whoever else is out there, Will Hernandez, it's probably going to cost a little bit, probably in the Kevin Zeitler range, like $6 to $10-ish million. I would
Mm-hmm.
like to do that. Let Mahogany and Glasgow compete for whichever guard that is open. Whoever doesn't win that is good depth, and you go from there. Because I want to get that line back to beating people to sleep, because that's what the lines are about, man. So I wouldn't be mad either way, though. I agree. Those are, if y'all want to list it 1A, 1B, I'm cool with that for sure.
I think the thing that's funny about that, because I agree with you, I think it is like a 1A, 1B type of situation. I think with either of us, though, I feel like the reason why we'd be fine with them addressing our position in free agency is because we think they're probably going to double dip in the draft, right? Like in my situation with like, hey, go out and get a veteran edge, it's because I think that the Lions are going to go out and you're going to probably get a guard, probably two interior offensive linemen in the draft. Like that is kind of like how I'm looking at it. And like the same is probably true with you when it comes down to like you're going interior offensive lineman, but still probably think the Lions are going to double dip when it comes down to whether it's defensive tackle or edge once the draft gets here.
I love that way of thinking too, to be honest with you, because that either way, that makes me happy as someone who is all about, like, football in the trenches, man, because look, the Eagles just did it, right? And the Lions, these last couple years that they've been beating the crap out of people, it's because their offensive and defensive lines are some of the best in the game. You got good skill people too, don't get me wrong, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with that. And I guess that brings us into the next section, right, Miko? Like,
Yeah.
why the Lions haven't spent big money on an edge player, because that's the consensus, right, in the fan base. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, it's a lot of people that are kind of just either frustrated or perplexed by the lack of emphasis on a position that, while injury definitely wrecked the entire roster, primarily on the defensive side, but injury definitely was a main cause. I don't think it was highlighted on a single position as much as it was on edge. Pre and post Hutch, right? Like, before Hutch got hurt, it was like once, because Marcus Davenport basically went down in week 2. So you were already kind of like, we were already down an edge. And I think that lack of depth really showed up. And then once you lost Hutch on top of that, then it really was just like, oh no, we truly have no pass rush. And I think you don't need to look any further than the fact that Hutch went down in week 6 and still led the team in pressures and sacks.
No doubt, man.
Like that tells you just how depleted edge is. And so yeah, I understand that people are frustrated with it in terms of why aren't the Lions spending but big money. But like you and I discussed before we got on here, there are some like legitimate good reasons as to why they haven't. at least as of right now.
No, man, I 100% agree with you. And really, you could lump edge into and just defensive line as a whole, because
Mm-hmm.
you lost the guys that could had some flexibility to kick outside. Like, Josh Pascal was playing like 60 snaps a game when he's healthy, and that's not a recipe for success. Like, I like Pascal, he could still get better, but that's a big snap load for a player that isn't really built for that right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just where they were. They lost their starters, their depth. Like, Makai Wingo was a sneaky, huge loss. I've said that like 10 times this offseason already. But yeah, you look at it right now, folks. Like, if you ever want to look at the cap and learn a little bit more, go to Over the Cap. The Lions have essentially $49 million in salary cap space right now. However, with the caveat, we don't know DJ Reed's 2025 cap number just yet, so the details aren't out there. So on the top of that, is the Hutch contract looming? Are you about to pay Kirby? Because since Kirby was a third round pick, his cap number is definitely going up unless you keep that thing
Mm-hmm.
super low. That's going to increase a bit. But there's factors in there. You factor in that there's $6 million for a rookie class. We did this exercise, and tell me if you can follow along, folks, in the comments, like if this helps you understand things a little bit more. So we have 49 million, right? The Lions do right now. Let's call DJ Reed's 2025 cap number 12 million. So what he counts against the salary cap in 2025 is the easiest way to break that down. Get you down to 37. As I just mentioned, you got the 6 for the rookie class. You get that number by timesing 840,000 by the number of draft picks. So it's like 5.8 something. So rounded it up to 6. So that brings you down to about 31. Brad Holmes likes to go into a regular season with like 10 to $15 million of, under the couch money, just moves like Zadarius Smith, or when your
Mm-hmm.
entire defensive line gets decimated, right, Miko? Right there, it kind of gives you, if you do all that math yourself, gives the Lions anywhere between like 15 to 20-ish, maybe a little more of active, like what they can spend, right, Miko? Like what they've allocated
Yeah.
in their budget. So keep that in mind for sure as the Lions approach free agency. It's only March 17th, like Miko said. It's early, folks. So, but if you keep that number in your head rather than like the 49, what it shows right now online,
Yeah.
that might make you a little bit less ticked off at what Brad's doing, right, Miko?
Well, and let's take it a step further, because you and I just talked about like areas where we feel like are still some big needs that the Lions need to fill. If we take a situation like you mentioned, wanting an interior offensive lineman, and we're talking about a good starting caliber interior offensive lineman, Brandon Sheriff, Will Hernandez, you're talking about, like you said, it's probably in the range of $6 to $10 million. So even if you already do have 10 to 15 or 15 to 20 left, you, again, if you have to go on the high end of that, you have to give 10 to an interior offensive lineman. Well, now you've already halved what you initially wanted to spend. So now you're going out here looking for any edge that you could potentially sign for less than 10 mil, because like we said, we listed other positions that they still need to fill. You still need a third safety. You still need a wide receiver 4. You still need a cornerback 4, possibly 5. So that 10 million that's left over can't even go directly to an edge. You can't go to, so you're in a situation now where you're essentially looking for veteran pass rushers or potentially developmental pass rushers that you can get on the cheap. And Morgan, the reason I think that they're doing that, primarily from my perspective, is when you look at the way this roster is constructed, there are two areas on this team where they need to get significantly younger and significantly cheaper. And that's your offensive line and your defensive line. Your offensive line, you need to do both. You need to get cheaper and you need to get younger. On your defensive line specifically, though, Hutch's contract isn't even done yet. We don't even know what it's going to be. But I can tell you right now, it's going to be stupid. It, like, between him and Aleem both making $20+ million a year, you can't afford, right? Like, you can't afford right now, especially with what they've already paid out, you can't afford to bring in another expensive pass rusher. So it's not going to happen. What I expect the Lions to do instead, they're going to draft one. And they may draft two, because they're going to be looking like, how can we get cheaper at this position? We know for the next 5 years, 4 to 5 years, we're going to be strapped when it comes to Aleem and Hutch. So we need a 4 to 5 year buffer to be able to pay some cheap money but get high production at those two positions. Like does that like sound about right to what you're kind of thinking going into this offseason?
100%, bro. It's always supplementing, you know, the expensive pieces with some affordable stuff, productive but affordable. And I love what you said just about the exercise. Like if the Lions did add, let's say the Lions added Sweat. I went and looked. Aleem's cap numbers about 29 million 2026. Call Hutch's 30 conservatively. That's Sweat's AAV is 19. That brings you almost to $80 million for those three on the defensive line alone. So that's where these teams start thinking about this. Like the Chiefs probably would have loved to keep Joe Thuney, but they're like, oh, we got to pay Trey Smith. We're already paying Creed Humphrey. Something's got to shake out here, man. We can't have $120 million offensive line because the rest of our roster is going to be a little bit lean. So
there's a reason why KC has been shuffling receivers, because they're just like, you don't think that they would love to go out there and get into a bidding war over one of these top receivers? No, they're like, bro, like we can't do it. Who wants a veteran minimum to contend for a Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes? Like that's the approach. And I feel like that's the approach the Lions have taken with Edge. Now, the question is whether or not it's a mistake or not. Like, is it the right thing for the Lions to be doing? Is it the right approach for Brad Holmes? And for me, Morgan, it is. And like I said, I do have to take that big picture approach because you have to get cheaper. You can't continue to just shelve out money, because what you're going to, if you do that, if you go out and you pay a Josh Sweat, then guess what? You're losing either a Kirby or a BB. You're possibly losing a Gibbs. You're possibly losing a Laporta, right? And that's even factoring in, like, yes, the salary cap is going to go up, but it's not going to go up so much that you can just keep handing out big contract after big contract like this.
No, and you're going to have to just pick your spots, man. Like they can backload things because I do think the CBA is coming up here soon. That new TV deal is going to be stupid, man, because the NFL, people like us keep talking about it and everyone keeps watching it, and it just keeps on getting more. They're trying to go global. So shoot, it's going to be crazy. That number is. So you can backload things. You can stagger numbers. I've said it before, like 1 year Sewell's will be high and Saints will be low. And then the next year it'll be the inverse. So, and Disner is one of the best. I hope the Lions don't lose him anytime soon, him and the rest of that team. They do a really good job of managing the cap they have since they got here in 2021 when they stripped it down to the studs. So, yeah, I'm right there with you, man. This isn't, no hair on fire, folks. Like a lot of these players that we're talking about, veteran safety, veteran receiver, it's going to be vet minimums, maybe a touch more. Nothing more. That's how that is. So the Lions are sitting in a great spot still. We wanted to give this a little bit of air because I do think people look at that initial number at 49 and they're like, dang, man, the Lions need to start throwing some money around. And like, I wish for sure, but I want to keep I think the way the Lions look at it, man, the more we get into this, they've done the research. Like they've spent the time with these players, like in the pre-draft process. They've had them in their organization. They know what kind of cats they are. And they're like, we'll go ahead and pay them because we know. You know what I mean?
And I think that's a big thing that people have to keep in mind. I like how you said, like, people focus too much on that big number, and I think they forget how quickly it goes. Like you said, like, you're like, oh, we have 49 million. Yeah, all right, now take DJ Reed's contract out of there. Take whatever his eight, like it's over 10. So like you're like, damn, like we're already down to 30 something mil.
Yeah, think about your bills, man. You get that paycheck, you're like, I'm sitting pretty, and then you're like, boom, 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 boom. You're like, wow, I only got is gone. How about that? Especially these days. So it's just the Lions are in that spot, but they're like luxury. They're living in like a great neighborhood, living healthy because they got all pros everywhere on their team. You know what I'm saying?
White collar problems, definitely white collar problems.
Exactly, bro. They're not in a bad spot. They're going to keep maintaining this. Some people are going to walk, like we just saw what happened. I mentioned it with the Eagles, man. That was a mass exodus. They probably would have loved to pay Milton Williams. You got Jalen Carter right there. You're paying, like Saquon. You're paying Jalen Hurts. It all adds up, man. It all, like I said, Chiefs would have loved to keep Joe Thuney. I'm surprised the Bengals kept both their receivers. That broke franchise. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but
that's wild. Yeah. But I think, like you said, though, something that you said earlier, the ability to backload contracts, who it's easy to backload contracts with? Young players. Players that know they still have 5, 6, 7, 8 years left in the league, so they're not sweating it. But when you got veterans that are already on their second contract or they're on their third contract. Good luck trying to be like, hey, we want to backload your deal. No, I want my money now. Like I need it now because I don't know if I'm going to play the full extent of this contract. Or in fact, I know I'm not because I know my age and I know how you treat people my age.
No doubt. That's why all these cats are getting their guarantees. And you know what I mean? Like, who signed, what was the edge rusher? One of the veterans just signed, and it was like the whole thing was basically guaranteed. And I was like, go ahead, buddy. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
you're talking about Derek Stingley. Or no, that wasn't, he wasn't a
no,
vet, but like his contract
corner.
was stupid too.
Well, yeah, good for him. Like that's just the way it's trending now. They're gonna get you can do that, get their if the Lions did want to sign, like we talked about it, if they wanted to sign a Von Miller, like a 1 year, 12 million, like that's a little steep, but he's a difference maker. He's not the Von Miller of the past, but that's a route they could go. And that'll probably make people happy. But
Mm-hmm.
then they have to figure out some cheap stuff at the guard. Then there might be a double dipping coming here at offensive line in the draft if they do that. So there's a million ways to do it. This is why Brad is the best in the one of the best in the business. I give Howie his flowers too, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, I want people to just
woosah a little bit, right? Rub the earlobes, woosah a little bit. It's gonna be good, right? We got a few more weeks of free agency.
Exactly. We don't want to be one of these teams that's excited. We were these teams that used to get excited in free agency, man. We were when we would have to overpay people to come here. Like Trey Flowers got like what $90 million guaranteed. Good for that man. Life-changing money.
Mm-hmm.
But that was an overpay because Patricia and Quinn were here. Them days are over. All right. Like the Lions, like good for Carlton Davis. He's going to New England. This will probably be his last big contract. He cashed in. Very good.
Awesome.
Good for you. Yeah.
Yep.
You ain't about to win nothing. That's going to be a crappy.
No. Good luck playing Josh Allen twice a year. Like, congratulations on that. But
that's what I'm saying. It's just the salary cap is a fascinating. Me and Miko have both like been learning more and more about this lately, and so it's what drives the NFL, man. So forgive us if we've been ranting on this a little bit. Hopefully you liked it, but there's a lot to it, and if you really start breaking down the minutia of it, you can start reading the tea leaves more. You know what I mean? Like when the Chiefs release a Joe Thuney, you can quickly be like, you look at over the cap and be like, oh yeah, I understand why they had to do that. Like start understanding it, and it's what drives things. I guess that's the end of my
exactly rant. And that's all we're essentially hoping to do here, right? We're not necessarily saying that you can't be mad that the Lions haven't added an edge. We're just hoping that by providing more information, by providing more context, you know how to direct your frustration. Be frustrated, right? No one's here to tell you how to feel. We're all fans. We're all hoping that the Lions are putting together the best roster. But at the end of the day, we have to have some trust in the leadership that has allowed this team to be, two-time division champions, that have allowed them to be playoff contending teams and Super Bowl contending teams, and that are at least trending in that direction. So very well said, Morgan. That's pretty much, though, going to do it for this video. If you guys are looking for any more additional Lions content, you guys already know you can check out prideofdetroit.com. That's where you're going to be able to find all the latest news, updates, any more free agency news as that breaks, you'll find it all there. Also, if you want to keep up with all of the video content we're doing over here on Pride of Detroit, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. It helps out the channel immensely. It also makes it easier for you to find our content in the future. So definitely make sure to do that, and make sure to leave us a comment and let us know what you guys think about this current free agency class and the moves that the Lions have made, and where you stand on the moves that they haven't made. Are you being patient? Are you a little frustrated? Do you need a little therapy? Like, do you need a workout session with some people in the comment section just to be able to air your frustration out? Let us know all that in the comment section below. But with all that said, I'm Miko. He's Morgan. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.